Good morning from Macon Manor in Macon, Mississippi. And I'm standing a bit of a ways off because the upstairs AC unit is running. It does obviously get warmer upstairs than downstairs. And I want to be heard. But before I walk over here, I'm going to show we've had so many delays, but we've actually expanded the foundation works as far as the perimeter. What we've experienced, while they were extremely smart in putting the house on a knoll, the one thing they couldn't completely avoid was this Mississippi clay. And so that's actually, it's deceptive because everything is so big. That's actually about 4 foot wide. And the reason why it is so extraordinarily wide and yet doesn't look deep is because, again, we were built on clay. And so instead of original pier work, although we do have a lot of piers going into depth underneath the house, for overall support around the perimeter beamwork and creating a stem wall, the decision was made to go, instead of with piers, to go with these wide expanses and we're using the highest strength commercial concrete. Hopefully it'll last. It may not last forever, but hopefully close to it. Because what'll happen is with all the expansion and contraction, what causes so many of these houses so many significant problems in this area is this clay, and it walks. And so you have very few houses that are anything approaching 100 years or older that still have decent foundations and are still level because of it. So instead of doing the traditional piers with depth, the answer is to build like this, to where basically you're riding across the clay. And by doing such large expanses, it'll hold together almost like you're building on very solid, very large skids. So this will keep the house from ever pulling apart again. It's been terrible. The work that's been done has been done by hand. And that we've got a lot of rebar, as you can see, because again, this is all about, we are creating something that's going to be incredibly strong, because this is an incredibly heavy house. And I'd shoot the camera down there, but you really can't see anyways. It's so dark. The house is pretty big, but I don't even know at this point how many individual concrete piers we have underneath there, but it is quite a lot. I'm going to walk you around to the other side of the house. This section, about 75% of what we're doing as far as the foundation works is actually finished. Everywhere you look, there's mess. And this looks kind of scary. It's just, when this house was built, it's all built on piers. This walling was never, it was added later. It was never part of the original foundation. So when you see these big sections, it's like, oh my God, there's all this. It's seriously, it's perfectly fine. Trust and believe. I would be completely freaked out if not. Now, interestingly enough, this is not block. They made it to look like it. And what's happened is it's brickwork. And I guess they thought it looked good. There was just plaster. There's a fairly thin coat of plaster that's been put over it. And so as things settled a little bit over the years, that plaster has cracked apart. However, this part of the house, sometime a long time ago, probably 1920s, 1930s, this part of the house was in need of attention. And as far as I can tell, the people who did this were the only ones that really invested any serious time, effort, and money into doing something. And here we are, almost 100 years past their repair work, and they did really a very good job. It kept this part, everything that they did on the first heavy-duty repairs, they did a really great job, and we actually don't have to redo it. We are, just to be safe and to keep it with the rest of the house, we are, and already have under the house, there's already been additional supports put under there. Do it right. You know, just try to make it to where we won't ever have a problem. And so we got away from having to deal with the outer wall on a fair section of this house because of the amazing job. I mean, you can see just what a very good job they did. The only reason why the front of the house has looked anything less than plumb at all has had nothing to do with the front of the house. It's had everything to do with the rest of the house. And actually, here's a good picture, and there's Bella, is that you can see, if you look at the roof line that extends to from the little side porch that extends over the butler pantry, it's not just the roof that looks a little bit wonky at that corner. It literally is sunk. And so this small section here is quite literally, we are well supported underneath. But this small section here, from about right here to the corner, is literally the last. That is literally the last section of house that we need to lift. And like I said, we've already got supports under, but we need to lift this, and we are recreating a new stem wall, and it will be the same as what was seen before. It's going to be an extremely wide, extremely strong, massive footing work of durable concrete that we will then build and support up from there. It's really the way to go. This side, we haven't worried too much about it. Comparatively speaking, it's not that bad, and this is not going to take but days to accomplish. Nowhere's near what we were looking at with all the rest of the house. I know that I say quite often, and I addressed it in the description of the previous video, that, you know, I'm walking by things and I'll be saying, oh gosh, I'm so excited, this is almost done. And people may be looking at some of the stuff thinking, what the hell, that doesn't look done. No, there's been a tremendous amount of structural stuff. Very, very expensive, very, very hard work that has been accomplished. I knew going in that the biggest amount of money that I would spend on this place was in doing everything that you would never really, when it's finished, never really see. I knew that, and I'm okay with that, because what it's going to do, it's going to make this house stronger than ever. And my hopes is that maybe a couple 100 years from now, she is still going to be standing tall and straight and gorgeous. And that is the end game goal, and we are well on our way to it. Pretty soon here, in less than 2 weeks, we're going to start to see some color and life. I've already had for a while now, I've got the post on order. They are beginning work on those now. It will take some weeks before they get here. Something that nobody alive today has ever seen is the front of this house, the way it was originally designed and built. I'm pretty excited about that. It's very much like the decor and the arches that you see on my little side porch. That is the theme of this house. That is what is going back up around here. What would have been kind of a chore. Took months to find an outfit that could do it. They're coming at great cost, but to have them be original, as George Barber would have had them designed, and the scales when they built would have had installed, it's going to be magic. Going to be magic. Solid African mahogany. That's what's going in underneath these porches. So pretty excited about that. That's all I've got at the moment. I've got a whole load of some very heavy stuff. I'm waiting on some help to show up and get it into the house. We're really close to the stuff that we start taking on here real soon is going to be things that actually people are going to be like, oh, because you're going to see it. We're getting really close to doing some finished work and not just structural nuts and bolts, electric, plumbing, nookie stuff. So that's all I've got at the moment. I hope y'all have a great weekend. Toodaloodles.